And a short time ago, I spoke to the government's leader in the House, a Minister for Infrastructure and Transport, Anthony Albanese, who was in our Parliament House studio. Anthony Albanese, welcome to Lateline.
Good to be with you.
Well, the first week of Parliament for 2011, and against the backdrop of so many natural disasters, the bushfires in Perth, the floods, the cyclone in Queensland, the floods in Victoria. As Infrastructure Minister, I know it's early days, but what could this all end up costing the federal government?
Well, we know what the cost is at the moment of the package, and that's why we provided a full response to it. Of course, we have another event today with the Western Australian bushfires. Under the formula that's been established, of course, once there is a natural disaster declared, then the Commonwealth's contribution kicks in automatically. But, we've got a responsibility. We've got a responsibility to help, for example, in Queensland, to rebuild their roads, their bridges, their rail lines, their ports, and we will be providing that assistance, of course, as well on the north coast of New South Wales, in Victoria and in Western Australia.
And, of course, that package that you referred to, the $5.6 billion, that number only refers to the floods. It doesn't refer to the cyclone, it doesn't refer to the very latest flooding, and it doesn't refer to the bushfires. Is $5.6 billion starting to look rather inadequate?
Well, look, we know that last time with Cyclone Larry, I'm advised that the cost to the Commonwealth was in the order of $500 million. Of course, it's too early to put a final costing on what damage the cyclone has had in Queensland. And, of course, today, far too early to speculate about money. I think today is a day for remembering in Western Australia the damage that's been done.
That said, of course, Cabinet met today and you have started the hunt for more budget cuts. As you do that, what number are you working on? What sort of a target are you working on?
Well, look, we have our budget process, Ali, and we'll work that through. We worked through a process to establish the $5.6 billion with, I think, a very responsible package, a package that combined the $1.8 billion that'll be raised by the flood levy, applied in a very progressive way so that those people who earn under $50,000 a year won't pay anything at all, and up to $100,000 a year it will be only $5 a week. So in terms of that contribution, and then a series of deferrals, we made sure, for example, in the infrastructure package that we put together, that we maintained our support for all the projects which were already contracted and are being rolled out, because we understood how important they are for productivity.
That's the package that you've announced so far, of course. What I'm asking you is, as you search for budget cuts, which you and the Prime Minister have said you've already started to do, what do you work on? Do you work on another $1 billion, another $2 billion, another $5 billion? You must have some working, vague, early day estimate above the 5.6 you've already identified.
Well, Ali, as you'd expect, I'm not on your program tonight in February to make our budget announcements, which will be worked through the process. We'll work them through. We're determined to return the budget to surplus in 2012-13. That's an absolute commitment that we have. We think we've got a very responsible package in response to the disasters which have occurred. We've got to remember the human dimension of this, the difficulties we might have in terms of finding room in the budget are nothing compared with the real issue, which is that people have had, not only we've had lives lost, but many more have had their lives destroyed.
So can I clarify then that while we heard about the $5.6 billion package, there won't be any other formal announcement of how much the federal government is going to have to pay until the budget? Any further financial update will come with the budget?
No, there won't be an announcement on your program tonight.
But there will be one before the budget?
Well, that's a matter for the Prime Minister and the Treasurer, with due respect. And we'll be making, though, our costings are fully known, as we have with this. I mean, I've worked through now with the state governments where we have deferrals, have all been accepted. that we've put forward, a total of 10 projects, in order to create that billion-dollar space which enables the labour and the capital to be used in rebuilding Queensland's roads and bridges and rail lines.
So have you found that
that's
billion?
Been worked through.
Have you found that billion? Because you've publicly announced, I think, around 400 million of it. You found the other 600?
Yes, we have, and that's all been worked through with the states.
And where is that? Is that in Victoria?
There are 6 projects in Queensland. There's one project in New South Wales, the Northern Sydney Freight Line, which will be deferred $100 million of that project, and then 2 deferrals in Victoria, $500 million for the regional rail link and $20 million for the Princes Highway East. Now, those positions have all been accepted by the states. There is an understanding there that we need to rebuild Queensland, that we need to rebuild Victoria, and indeed respond in Western Australia now, as well as the north coast of New South Wales.
Are welfare cuts on the table?
Look, those budget deliberations will take place, and I'm not here tonight, and it wouldn't be appropriate for me to speculate and rule things in or out, and you wouldn't expect me to, with due respect, Ali. But we will make sure that we can provide the funding there consistent with returning the budget to surplus in 2012-13.
So how do you respond to Doug Cameron, for example, who says that welfare reform has to be a long-term approach? It's not about short-term budget cuts.
Well, I was in the caucus today, and that's actually not what Doug Cameron said in the caucus. But in terms of...
Did he talk in caucus about welfare cuts?
No, not at all. He talked about the importance of work, as well as welfare being provided for those people who couldn't work. So it was a constructive discussion in the caucus. The caucus is very united. Our caucus is moving forward, prepared to take the decisions to ensure that Queensland can be rebuilt, while Tony Abbott and the opposition just snipe at the sidelines, just oppose. I note today Joe Hockey did what Tony Abbott has failed to do day after day, which is to admit that the email which went out soliciting donations for the Liberal Party under the guise of opposing the flood levy was inappropriate and unacceptable, and it shouldn't have happened.
Well, let's get back to your spending. And in terms of overseeing the spending of federal funds, you've announced today a reconstruction inspectorate which will oversee the federal expenditure by the